best practices here on cybersecurity and risk management, largely in the current realm, right? Because I remember a long time back, whenever you talk to us about integrating and all, my CISO will always tell me, let's close this, let's just keep it within the branches, let's not take it out. But those options were not there, they are not there at all. I think when I left banking from a CTO perspective, I think some of the structures were not that as robust, right? So today we have a structure where we work with data providers, tons of data providers, and if they have an issue, you have an issue as well. You inherit their risks, you inherit their problems. If you have a fraud management issue, that again you can control from somewhere. But what if these platforms themselves are storing data outside and putting some controls which are not correctly done? Or maybe tech providers which you use. We all of us use the switches which are outside. All of us use PGs which are outside. What if there are issues with them? So there's a lot of work to be done to ensure that as a bank or as an NBFC or as a payment player, you are good. But maybe many of you will be a payment player as well. Many of you may have your own digital platform. So how would your platforms adhere and align to these structures is also crucial. So I think I remember maybe 10-15 years back when you go to vendors and you or partners, you would tell them, oh boss, you have to comply to these regulations. They say, okay, please send me the regulation, I'll read through it. Or maybe I'll do it for you and your side, and we'll bring the platform and you do it for me. I think those days are gone. The bankers are clearly asking the partners to bring a compliant product. And now when so much a partnership happens between the banks and fintech, it's not the easiest one to sort of manage. I had a call with a very senior guy in the market, and he was asking the same question that all the banks and NBFC are now asking them to have a that cyber security risk, right? That cyber insurance. Right. So he was asking how and where do I buy it? So I think all the controls what regulator has given to banks and passed on to the ecosystem, they're all going. So this player, which is it's actually only a stack. It's a tech stack, but they're complying with all the regulations because they have no choice, because that's how the market is. So let's just look at some thought process. Let's say you are partnering with the bank, and this is a new model which is scaling up. It's not going to slow down while there are issues here and there because of the regulation, but it's not going to slow down. So it is keep happening there. Now, in this structure, if anyone is doing this partnership, they have to ensure that they have a decent, a great sort of redressal system as well to handle custom complaints. Regulator is very clear that all of that has to be done really well. There's a focus on operational and regulatory guidelines. So all of you who would be working with the banks would know that there's a bunch of document which comes to you to comply with it. And I do know that sometimes people try to avoid it, saying that we'll do later and when we scale. But I think my suggestion is please invest some effort and time into doing it. Post facto, it becomes very difficult. And regulator is very, very stiff. There is no compromises. They will stall your program, stop your program, or they will bar you from the business. So at no point of time, please do not take risk. Ensure that your all guidelines are taken care of. There has to be the way the information security standards are there for a bank. Exactly the same has to be followed on your side. So don't ever make a mistake that chalta hai. Chalta to bilkul bhi nahi hai to, right? Now, what if you're a tech provider? You have your own maybe lending tech stack, or you have a banking tech stack, or you have BPM stack. At all point of time, if you are building it within the bank or banking environment, which is hosted in bank environment or outside, I think you have to ensure that you take care of all kind of, let's say, simple controls. You're talking about the payment solution should have encryption of transaction data, or any point of time when the data moves. And we were recently doing this work with a leading organization, and we found that while they're saying they were talking about security, but data was not encrypted. It was just that they say HTTPS, and that's how it is, right? But you have to encrypt the data at all points of time, so there's no chance of anybody hacking out there. You need to have a framework of continuous audits, right? So I think sometimes we get very irritated by audits, but as a practitioner, I can tell you that it brings a lot of focus to the game. I myself used to impose some audits on my own teams earlier, and right now we do run consulting. In this business also, we are sort of trying to get into a concurrent audit so that we don't make mistakes of any kind, right? And then of course, any kind of suspicion escalate, ensure that it gets solved for. And ensure that any point of time, any new regulations comes, take immediate action. I remember long back when we were looking at any RBI regulation, we would delay, and I'll be honest about it. Market would delay it by maybe 6 months or 1 year, expecting the regulator will will delay it, but nothing happen anymore. And we have a very strict guidelines and timelines to adhere to. For example, right now there's a new guideline which is coming up in next few days. Anybody has to sort of ensure that they are up to speed. Um, I think there are some hands coming up on questions. Raj Bahadur, just hold for a few minutes. I'll stop in the middle and then take your questions as well. Or maybe you can actually write on the chat and we'll pick it up, right? So both ways you can do. If you want to ask, then that's fine. If you want to chat, please send on the chat area, and then we'll try to respond back, or on Q&A, we'll try to respond back to that. If you're a data provider, and this is very complicated and risky area, a lot of people are picking up data from this side or that side and collating all the data together and pumping it back to banks or NBFCs, saying, you please underwrite based on this data, that data. But I think we are soon getting into a real of the world where people will say, data kahan se hai? From where did you get this data? How do you own the data? I mean, there are so many places where you're saying, okay, I have partner. Let's say argument wise, this is not really a data provider, but you have DSA partners and who are getting you business. From where did they get data, right? How did they get millions of data where they are pushing the customer to convert? I think those questions are getting asked. I'll be honest, I made a mistake of giving my main phone line for my home hunt. So I was hunting for a home in Mumbai and I gave my number. I can tell you that every day I get 10 to 12 calls from everybody in Thane area. Shamji, Damji, this, that, koi bhi call kar raha hai, right? So it's going to stop now. It has to stop now. It's maniacal, right? So I think data providers are obviously helping the ecosystem a lot, from underwriting, identity management, a lot of process, a lot of providing. But you need to be conscious about data security. You need to be aware of that data protection law is already there, act is already there. You need to comply. How do you ensure that there's an access control is there? Because what if the access is given to partner and that access is full? How do you act, right? What are the risks you are carrying? Amazingly high level of risk. So my request is, as you join and you sit through the sessions for next 2 to 3 hours, I'll be honest, at some point in time, you will feel that this information is complicated, or maybe it's not meant for me. But I can tell you, hand on my heart, it is meant for you. We know that a lot of times we think it's not relevant. बहुत ही ज़्यादा deep में जा रहा है, ऐसा नहीं है. If you don't build in the process, you will never get it out. So I think we are also invoking that the old way of doing it, that give it to compliance and give it to IT security and they will take care of it. It's gone. It's gone. I've seen a lot of product managers if still asking this question. Are compliance ko chhodna jaldi karte hain, live karte hain. I've given commitment to my boss that it has to go live in 7 days. It has to go live. I think those days of, or even today I see it, right? So I'll be honest that if you're a product manager, if you are CXO, if you are even a CEO, you be aware that the regulator may come back and ask you to stop business. Don't even attempt that. Even if you're a data provider, tomorrow there may be guidelines to put you under control directly under regulator, or maybe they will be looking at you and asking you to stop business with you, right? They may actually ask for it. So be aware of it, that it's no longer अरे चलता है देख लेंगे, हम तो directly impacted नहीं है, we don't have a role to play kind of stuff, right? So be honest, be aware of it. Ensure that data sharing is done with a control on any kind of suspicion. Just track it and train people like crazy, right? I think we sort of miss out on that. We train on people on process control, but whenever security comes, it becomes like mandatory. But let's do half an hour session and move on with it. Not possible anymore. You may be a LMS provider. You may be automating processes. Again, your process, your journey should have regulation already embedded into it, right? Because बाद में CR आएगा, something will come and change. You will find it tough to do. And your platform is also integrating technically with front end, back end, this and that end. And you might be actually creating a cybersecurity risk because of too much integration. We recently saw the way integration was done in the architecture, or the way hosting was done. There was a fair chance of these systems getting sort of mixed up, front end, back end mixed up into same structure. So I think my request is, if you are running your own LMS, LOS, or even if you're a tech provider of any kind, be aware the risks and compliance are for you as well, as much as for banks. You may have an open banking architecture. You may be building the stack. If you're integrating with them, again, your controls and processes have to be amazingly high. You should be able to sort of manage any kind of threat in the system. And of course, try to ensure that multi-factor authentication is there on the journey as well. But anyway, so I think the key point is that earlier, as I said, that we would come back and saying, okay, let's not expose bank to external world. Internet banking, mobile banking, ठीक है, आ गया तो ठीक है, it's okay, इतना कर लेते. But let's not try to add more layer to it. Let's not partner with anyone. So I remember still distinctly, अरे नहीं करते यार, बहुत risk है. So I think we are moving toward it has to be done. Even when you are running your own maybe payments, the switch is outside, right? Switch is with somebody else. You would have technically outsourced to a large player as well. So is the case with maybe with UPI, so is the case with BBPS. In all cases, the risk is moving from back end to front end. It's going outside system, and therefore you in the system you could control, but when you're in somebody else's data center, how do you manage is critical. And therefore you need to ensure that each of the touch points are very well managed. What if the partner makes a mistake? You still should have a control point on your side. Of course, from a third party risk perspective, since so much of outsourcing is done, you may have to audit the process, audit their operations, audit their data continuity. What if, let's say, one of your partners go down? So I think this is one more risk that you may have one partner for this, one partner for that. I think the world will move soon to have multiple partners so that you never go down. What if the partner becomes infeasible and has to shut down business? And you may not have planned those migrations. Be aware of it, take care of them. Another challenge is that earlier data would lie within your data center, right? Data. I'm not saying processing, pure data. Today, data lies in some layers, in some places. You may have a partnership on lending side. So some data is staying somewhere. Some data will be lying on maybe a credit card platform. Some data will be lying on some third party on FD. You would know, right? So there will be logically there. While you may say everything has to be wiped off, you can't wipe off everything. You have to still have some data outside. So as it lies in each area, how do you ensure that each area you control and manage? Otherwise, personal data can go out and then create ruckus for it. Nobody will care about which partners it is. It will be bank who will be blamed. And of course, when bank is blamed, your partners will also be blamed as much, as that's how controls are coming. The technology are also coming at a rapid pace, right? So this keep coming at a rapid pace. So how do you ensure that when you get a new platform in or partner in or process in, you do enough due diligence also from that perspective, risk and compliance? Just ensure that you're not in a hurry, live kar dete hain, and then functionally it looks okay. Ensure that any new technology stack and process you adopt with full focus on controls. And of course, the market is also tough, right? I mean, I can't understand that 10 years back, you would have seen serial like Jamtara, right? It didn't exist, right? We didn't think that much. Today, I'm like always at risk. So just to be honest about it, I was at the airport almost 2 weeks back. And I was just checking out, going through the customs, and I was called that you just passed customs. Technically, that somebody called you and called me that something is wrong with your documents or something like that. And you're checking your luggage, you check. And it was a fraud call because I went back and figured out nothing was there. Maybe I don't know what the logic was, but I ended up shutting all my accounts. And it was so tough to shut all my accounts. Even today, my accounts are all closed because it was such a risky one. I personally saw out there. So I think cyber crimes are very, very rapid. We have had within our teams somebody's parent got defrauded because somebody called. Even our team always gets one email, I think every month, which talks about how Sameer needs help from you. Please respond. And, I mean, the risk is always there. And people, if they respond, it's very, very tough, right? I don't know what they will take. Now, in terms of how the risk profiles are and who's getting more risk, of course, if your name has bank, you're gone, right? Everybody will attack any which way, right? I remember one time I was shocked to see that my CISO was showing me that the structure where we were under attack. And he says, I'm just showing you we are under attack because we are always under attack. Because somebody is always trying to penetrate over firewall, somebody is always trying to do. That's how it is. While you may have your own stack, the hackers also have your better stack. Maybe they're attacking all the time and they have maybe better resources, right? Their profitability may be higher, right? God knows. And then, of course, urban cooperative banks have 90%, and of course, NBFCs had. My belief is that these numbers will increase as well because NBFCs are now under huge radar. They're making tons of money and they're also getting more and more exposed to partnerships. So their risk will increase as well. Now, within this risk, higher risk category is higher in terms of with UCBs, NBFCs, and SCBs are better. It may be also linked to the fact that SCBs or commercial banks have a higher focus on security. Honest answer is, I may come back as a bit rude to others, but I think fact of the matter is banks, because they've been forever under heavy regulation, have been very aggressive in solving for it, and their audit also heavily. Now what we are seeing is the same regulation controls are moving to NBFCs as well, where our regulator is not leaving them because they have seen the risk with which some of them have created in the market as well. How do the traditional ecosystem works, right? You will have a typical IT services management. You will have frameworks coming in, maybe outdated software. For example, I used to run it, so I removed all software, upgrade all of that, managed capacity. So we were so particular about capacity management. I can tell you that every month we'll audit it. Every month we'll plan. We'll plan 12 months, 16 months, 24 months in advance. I remember buying a server maybe almost 18 months in advance and plan for it so that it's come at right price and ensure that we sort of scale up on time. But even whatever you do, you might be wrong. So every month you audit, and every now and then you audit, saying that are you on the right on the capacity perspective. Ensure that you have a decent and structured policy, and you have a process to control it, right? Again, CISO should be reporting to a CIO. I think yes or no. Technically, should never have it always there, because CISO maybe put under pressure by the CTO, because CTO is now more responsible for business as well. I'm not yet to meet now a CTO who doesn't know enough about business. Sometimes I've seen the meetings were headed by business and the technology team, because they know enough and that's how they operate. Regular risk assessment and management. I think 25 years back also they used to do VAPT, and today you do VAPT, but the frequency may be higher. You have to keep assessing the risk, and of course, whenever the risk happens, ensure that you report correctly to the regulator. I've seen incidences where a regulator has not updated and the fines come through. Today, fines may not be fines. Fines may actually, it may come back and more as your business getting stopped. And of course, you should have a escalation path. I also am very clear that sometimes escalation path is not clear on some cases, and maybe the issues will come directly from a external system. So you need to ensure that when you have an issue, how do you control? And I hope you all of us remember in 2016 the incident where the ATMs were hacked, right? So those incidents were I still is drawn in my mind. We had sleepless nights, and we reacted in one way. But I think today's world is much better managed. And I think the SOPs and the process will be much more documented, how to ensure the escalation is done on time. And how do you shut businesses, right? So for example, some risk has happened. Which layer should be shut? I remember those days we had shut all international transactions because hacking was done from outside the country as well. I think it was Myanmar and few more countries from where the hacking was happening. So we shut all that. But today, can you shut all the networks outside? I myself was outside India for 2 weeks. If my network was off, I would have died doing it, right? Because payment was not happening. My cards were working, right? I had no money. I had no cash. What if you are carrying card, international card, and your network says, okay, we have a risk, we are shutting down. You're stranded on the ground. So I think what we did almost 7-8 years back is not longer feasible. Don't do that. And if you shut, you need to be conscious about how the impact is there and how do you communicate to people. Now, how do you do it in the new world, right? I think one of the points which I was trying to address, don't give compliance to regulatory compliance team and compliance team and CISO. No, not possible. Product manager has to own it. Partnership management has to own it. Operation guys to own it. It can't be that it will be two guys who will do it because it is inside. So when you build your systems, ensure that they automatically have those checks and balance controls in. It can't be that you have put video KYC and usme bhi flaw ho jayega. Not possible. You need to ensure the controls are put there. You have to audit like crazy. And this is something which I had learned that normally I will say the system is, and people are mature enough to do it. Look, we like it or not, but audit is a crucial part of it. If you remove traffic police from the road, we make mistakes, right? So I think ensure that you have regular audits. Stakeholder engagement has to be done because sometimes business gets very upset. Oh, mera live nahi ho raha. Why is the security issues coming? I think it's important that they are onboarded as well and they own as much as anybody else. Culture of compliance, I think it goes from top management downwards. So ensure that there's a different amount of time spent on compliances. In fact, my personal prescription is everybody should know about these compliance. They are not rocket science. I think we have done a course. Maybe I'll suggest if my team could share you access to the course which is available online on our portal. Please go ahead and take those courses. Very, very useful for you to take it because culture of compliance means everybody should know compliance. If you say IT outsourcing has these regulations, why would you not know it? I mean, it's a basic business. And be honest, maybe 7-8 years back, I was not so keen, but given the current environment, don't do that. You should have a compliance as a DNA. Continuous improvement, because if you say what I've done is already a sort of baseline. That's where we need to reach. You have to realize that competition is moving ahead. Competition is coming primarily from hackers. They're going to take away your money. They're improving their process. You do better as well. And work on social engineering kind of stuff as well, because a lot of times it's not in the system. It's actually attack is going to come from inside. What if the database is exposed? If somebody moves data or hacks data or deletes data, anything is possible. And of course, you need to work on risk-based prioritization, which risk to solve. Sometimes there are so many risks that we get lost. So ensure that you prioritize, you close, you update, you escalate, all of that. And of course, leadership has to be very conscious of what they're doing. They can't make mistakes. Ki, "Arey yaar, dekh lenge baad mein kuch nahi hota," nothing is possible. So I think it may sometimes look very classical way of leading it, but I think I've lived that life. Classical works very well. Saying aisa hi karna hi karna. Let's not break rules because we want to. Another point which I used to get frustrated, and I be honest that it was tough in those days and tougher now, that you have so many standards. Somebody will say ISO standard, somebody will say ITIL, or maybe PCI because you're managing payments, SOC 2 from architecture perspective, somebody will say, and somebody will, then there's tons of regulations. We've only put few of them here, but regulations keep coming, right? So how do you ensure that all of those are managed together? And many of them have overlapping requirements. So what we have built in for ourselves, our clients, is largely a unified compliance framework where all the policies, all the risk management, all the governance frameworks are put into one's control structure. And basically from here itself, the change management, incident management, audit management, capacity, all of them are put into one structure, so that when you all of them are together and you put all the control points, maybe control point will be larger, but once you do it, you can hand it off to relevant, because generally these frameworks don't clash with each other. They're only one, some of them overlap, some will be one improved on another. If you have single structure, it'll help you in ensuring that audits are not handled like a crazy stuff saying, "Ab ye wala audit ho raha, kya kare?" Everything is structured. You put it into one structure and ensure that all of that is managed. And of course, what it'll do is it'll improve your posture to the risk posture to the market. Regulatory compliance should increase automatically. Transparency and visibility, right? Everybody should know kya ho raha hai, kaise ho raha hai. Of course, your availability. I think we have seen enough where we personally have deployed this kind of framework earlier, and certainly in the first few months, I used to be very engaged. ये फट गया, वो फट गया, system down है, कुछ issue आ गया. And I can tell you that for a long time, nobody ever touched me because the process was put in control. We do our own DRs continuously. Every month we do DR. You can't make mistakes. You audit on a monthly basis. You can't make a mistake. You put your own technology teams should put your own audit teams, right? Why wait for somebody to hack you and then saying, okay, issue aa gaya. So just manage it like crazy. And in terms of process, I think, as I said, ensure that product management level, it is embedded. All products are built with security and compliance in mind. All journeys will have KYC controls, consent management, data protection, and all of that. All partners are taking care of it. You have to balance between innovation and security. I think earlier it was more of a innovation first, but I would rather say compliance first, innovation first. Or maybe innovation can also sometimes take a second look if the regulation or compliance is not taken care of. And of course, partner level security is very crucial. Ensure that your board level support is there. So I think if your board doesn't have anybody from let's say IT or security side, my suggestion would be look for that person to come in. We have too many guys from a HR perspective or a CA perspective or I don't know, or let's say audit perspective, account perspective. What we need is a security and technology expert on the board. That's crucial so that you can also get endorsement support there. And of course, keep doing training, and keep doing training. I think that's largely it. I think what we need to ensure that as process is ensure that you take this step forward, reassess your own cybersecurity risk posture of your organization, ensure that at a board level there's enough oversight. While you have IT security related board meetings, sometimes the quality is not that good of those discussions. Elevate those discussions, adopt a compliance first approach. Very crucial. You have seen businesses getting stopped at scale, right? So don't even take a one fraction of a risk out there. And then of course, implement security by design. I think it works beautifully when you do it. Ensure that you sort of track all the changes which are happening or regulations. Within all teams, there should be a framework saying that if something happens, how do you react across the organization? And of course, predict and control. I think that's largely what I wanted to share right now with all of you. Thank you guys, and you're in fine and great hands. Honest answer is that I had an easy life as a CTO because I had Shashank with me. That is how I sort of survived. So over to you guys. You're in fine hands. Thank you guys. Thank you.